Minister, thank you so much for joining us this morning and taking time out of your busy schedule for this event. I know you have to dash off again right after this. For starters, let me talk a little bit about the political landscape in India. Parliament currently has its highest ever representation of women. It's still modest by global standards, but it's notable progress. How, in your view, is the increased representation going to change India?
I think it's not an increase that one can be satisfied with. It is an inspiring increase. And I think that when you study role of women in administration, you will find that they tend to then oscillate between needs of the people and needs of administration without getting too much into capital goods, which will not help build aspirations of the society on the whole. For instance, when women are in positions of administration, they spend more on water services, they spend more on cleanliness, they spend more on ensuring safety and security of women and children and society as a whole. They spend more on education and health. So I think women in positions of administration is a cause for celebration for society at large. There is a fascinating experiment which was done when the Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, where he went out and told villagers to vote together in consensus for women to become the leaders within that village, within that panchayat. And we saw more and more villages come together, societies come together and elect a female representative to represent the village's administrative needs. And those villages which came together and actually elected a female representative ended up getting more funding from the government. So I think that we don't look at women's empowerment politically only from a parliament perspective, but we also need to celebrate women who have been politically empowered at the grassroots.
You mentioned that you're not satisfied with the representation.
Ask any woman. Till we don't have our half of the sky, none of us will sit satisfied.
What would be a satisfying percentage for you?
I think that till such time where opportunities are given to women to compete equally, not only against men, but even each other, on the basis of pure merit, on the basis of equal opportunity, I think that is when women across the country will feel satisfied. Till such time, we are not given that opportunity, possibly given that opportunity out of either compulsion, possibly given that opportunity either because we belong to a particular family or a particular fraternity. I think those are the challenges, or those are the opportunities that women feel do not do justice to their talent, do not do justice to the kind of caliber they have. So till such time, in every constituency, women have an equal opportunity to become the representatives of people. I don't think women in my country will rest easy.
Female participation in the labor force, obviously a big issue. India is among the lowest in South Asia at around 24%. That's down a lot, 37% in 2005. Your government wants to increase participation back to 30% and has come up with several projects to spur women's participation in the workforce. Tell us what's working and what's not working.
One of the greatest challenges for having enhanced economic participation of women was access to credit. And I think that the Prime Minister, through his initiative to ensure that Jan Dhan accounts are open, we have today data which says that 370 million new bank accounts were opened for our citizens in the past 5 years, out of which 199 million women got to open their bank account for the first time in their lives. When we came into power, one of the first initiatives undertaken by the Prime Minister was a credit system, a loan system called Mudra, under which from 50,000 rupees to 10 lakh rupees could be given to people without collateral. And I'm happy to say that out of the 200 million loans given, 70% of the beneficiaries are women. When I talk about empowerment of women at the grassroots, when we came into a position of service 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, across the country in common service centers which are digitally driven, we had only 73,000 women. And in the past 5.5 years, that number has gone up to about 360,000. So I think the Prime Minister under his leadership has ensured that women's issues become the fulcrum of administration. And women's issues pertain to not issues only within one ministry, but you see that effect across all ministries, be it finance, be it agriculture, or for that matter, even cleanliness. The fact that the Prime Minister's leadership ended up giving women close to 110 million toilets across the country, I think is a staggering figure of what a government with purpose can do for women at large in the country. So there are many numbers, since Bloomberg is data-driven and designed for action, that these are the data points which we can say have ensured that now we speak about an economy, we speak about a country which is moving towards women-led development. For too long, we spoke about women's development as though we wanted to be at the end of that spectrum where we just receive a dole. Here, we are treated as equal partners in administration, and I think that is one of the biggest changes that my government has seen.
Right. So some things are working. Is there something where you feel you have to do more?
I feel that when it comes to the unorganized sector, you have more and more women participating as labor in the unorganized sector because they are happier to land up with lesser pay. They're happy to land up with lesser medical benefits or no medical benefits at all. And I think those are the numbers which for me is a challenge that we have to meet. But this is an issue that we have been struggling with. This is an issue for which we are hoping to provide solutions for a number of years. But if you look at numbers across the world, globally, even in an age where we speak of equality, globally, even venture capitalists fund 2.2% women across the world. That means this is not a problem isolated only to India. It is a challenge that we as a global community need to address. One of the other challenges is that wherever the risk of finance is higher, you find less women there. And wherever the money quotient in a program, or for that matter, a business venture is lower, you will find more women there. So I think somewhere we need to enhance or somewhere we need to handhold women who want to take higher risks in stronger financial positions. And I think once we break that glass ceiling, there will be a flood of women who lead from the front in opportunities or cooperation which have a bigger budget. And this is not only for companies, even non-profit. Wherever we have seen that monies for a non-profit are below 5 crores, we have more females leading such non-profits. Wherever money goes beyond 5 crores, it is men who come in positions of power. So this is not a challenge curtailed only to corporates. This is also a challenge which we need to meet in the non-profit sector.
Right. We have a question for the audience here, so get your phone ready. And the question is, what should India be doing to increase female participation in the workforce? Here you have a chance of saying all of the above, but please vote now. Oh, cheating.
No, I think it's a very pragmatic audience which knows that the solution doesn't lie in one silo. And when it comes to childcare services, the government has enhanced childcare leave for 26 weeks. The challenge lies in companies which need to emulate that law and ensure that a woman who actually takes that 26-week leave is then not left out, especially in areas where she feels that she can be promoted to the next level in a particular company. That is where the challenge lies. The other issue which you had asked about, labor laws and codification of labor laws. We have recently codified labor laws, made it simpler, and in fact added the additional component to ensure that women's rights are made secure in companies or for that matter even in the unorganized sector. So these are the issues that we are actively addressing as government. The challenge lies is when we bridge the gap between governments and companies that need to deliver the fruits of that law to women and men at large.
One of the things we haven't discussed, of course, is safety and the perceived lack thereof. How safe is India for women?
It's as safe as New York.
I'm Swiss. But is there anything that the government can do to improve the situation?
I think to say that women's safety issues or children's safety issues are a challenge only in a particular subcontinent, a particular country, would be doing great injustice to the data which is available, that every country comes with its own challenges with regards to safety and security of its citizens. What you might ask or feel free to possibly discuss and debate, whether the government of the day is dedicated to ensure the security and safety of every child, every woman. Recently, we passed an amendment to our protection of children from sexual offenses, where we for the first time brought in child pornography and online pornography and dealt with it very, very seriously, which means that the government is responding to challenges that even technology brings to the forefront with regards to safety of women and children. I've been very blessed that no matter which state I go to, governed either by my political organization or any other for that matter, on one issue there is consensus and no politics done, which is the issue of women and children. And one of our greatest endeavors currently is to ensure that there has been a time in our country where people presume that if we open an all-women's police station, then possibly that is the answer to every challenge. I think administratively today we are in a position where we say every police station in our country needs to have a special desk manned only for the safety of women in that particular district or in that particular police station. And now we are actively working towards it. We are also working towards ensuring not only do we process data which comes in daily with regards to law and order situation across all police stations about women and children, but the government has recently financed setting up of close to 1,023 fast-track courts, so that cases which are pending with regards to safety of women and children are cases that can be expedited in the courts of law. So we are not only dedicating to ensuring safety and security, but equally dedicated to ensuring justice is delivered to women and children in our country.
You're also the Minister of Textiles, and the textile industry is the biggest employer for women in rural areas, with companies looking to move out of China. Are you working on policies to enable India to fit into the global textile value chain and garner a bigger part of the business?
Absolutely. We are looking at our traditional methodologies of production, which is apparel and made-ups. The Prime Minister has announced a 6,000 crore package just 3 years ago. And till date, over 13,000 crores worth of investment has come back because of that announcement. We have particularly also given the needs of technical textiles in our country. For the first time in 70 years, codified technical textiles for 207 items. We did that in January, and till June, our numbers were very impressive. Our exports grew by 17%. Our negative trade balance became better by 52%. We have mandated close to 90 technical textiles items across 7 ministries so that they become a mandated part of purchasing capacities of ministries for various projects across the country. So insofar as the current trade scenario, we have reached out actively to investors in Singapore, to investors in China, to investors in the US and EU, and England for that matter, that do come and invest in India. We do handhold and work together with companies and states to ensure that states which give the best option for investment, best options for infrastructure, are states that we help set up new industrial capacities. Uniqlo recently opened up in India, which I think was one of the areas that we celebrated, because here we had one of the world's greatest apparel companies come through and collaborate with Indian designers, collaborate with Indian artists, and the retail strength of Uniqlo, which I'm hoping grows in India, is again a testimony to how we've handheld many such international brands to come to India and not only invest in India, but also make in India.
In a similar vein, about 14% of the 40 million non-agriculture business owners in India were women. Part of the reason why India is pretty low on the scale with Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Algeria in the MasterCard index of women entrepreneurs. Does the government do anything about that to encourage more entrepreneurs?
Like I said, the common service centers are centers of service to provide all government services digitally across close to 600,000 villages in our country. And today, 360,000 of them are manned by women. The fact that 199 million women for the first time have access to a bank account, The fact that women today have taken that bank loan to invest in small enterprise is a matter of encouragement for me. But I think, Reto, that if you look across governance, one of the greatest schemes that I as a woman celebrate is the Ayushman Bharat scheme which came through, where for the first time actively the government supports close to 100 million families who are challenged by poverty or who are challenged by economic circumstances for better health services. And one of the fruits of it, which is not spoken of possibly, is cervical cancer. If you look at women in villages, not many would like to go out and actively search for health solutions for something like cervical cancer, for breast cancer. And only in 1 year of Ayushman Bharat, which has been implemented across the country, today I have data about 530,000 women who've got themselves tested for cervical cancer, an issue that they would not speak about publicly. Close to another 300,000 who've got themselves tested for breast cancer, and many more who are now post those tests receiving treatment under the scheme of the Prime Minister. So I think that when you look at opportunities for women, I see opportunity in the new water ministry that has been created called the Jal Shakti Ministry. We have 256 districts where we see a water challenge currently and a challenge which will come forth in the future. And actively in those 256 districts, we are now training women to ensure water quality and testing, which means we are generating employment, and the agenda of the government is to expand it to 750,000 villages. Now imagine in those 750,000 villages, in each village, 5 women who are trained actively to only test the quality of water, to maintain water hygiene, and to turn water into an enterprise. Now for me, those are the steps that need to be not only spoken of, but those are the steps that also need to be strengthened. While I spoke about venture capitalists funding only 2.2% women across the country, right, and you are talking, I'm extremely happy about girls taking the Lal Street. Right. I want to be there applauding them when they stand there ringing the bell.
Please come on Thursday. Yeah. We're there.
Possibly one of the first ministers who gate crashes. But why I say this is that we had chartered accountancy as an institution established in our country somewhere in the late 1940s. From the late 1940s to 2014, we had only 50,000 female chartered accountants in the country. The revolution is that from 2014 to this year, that number has grown by 25,000 and today stands at 75,000 women. And their prediction is that in the next 5 years, that number will go up to 150,000 women. Which means that women, when empowered with education and opportunities to be equal partners in financial services, can go the whole hog. They're just waiting for that opportunity.
Right. We've talked a lot about macro themes. I'd like to get a little more personal. You've obviously been highly successful, first in show business, now in politics. How did you navigate personally this male-dominated society to get where you are?
I think that if you look at a society from the prison of male domination or female inequality, then you begin your journey with a chip on your shoulder, and I did not.
Last night we heard a lot about the importance of male allies, male advocates. Who were your advocates early in your career? Everyone needs an advocate.
Why would I need a male one?
Did you have female advocates?
Why would I need one? I think the presumption is that if you achieve something, that there must have been some crutch that you had, emotionally, financially, administratively. Why can't I be successful because I'm me?
You're unique. Finally, that was a very powerful message, of course, but what's your key message to the leaders in the room and indeed all the women in India?
I don't think women in India need a message. I think every Indian woman is a revolution waiting to happen. I think the message should be to those who know what the law is and yet fail to comply with it because they met with a woman. The message in the room that needs to be told is that while we in Parliament bring forth progressive laws, it is the responsibility of those who are in the social segment, be it companies, be it non-profits, or people at large, who need to recognize the sanctity of that law and need to recognize that it's a woman's right to bear the fruits of that progressive law, not a woman's compulsion to stand at the end of the line waiting for the rainbow to hit her.
That's all the time we had. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Honourable Minister.